Support for this episode comes from Modern Football Technology. Modern Football Technology provides real-time opponent tendencies and self-scout while eliminating manual data entry into Huddle, DV Sport, and Exos. If you're tired of tools that are time-consuming to learn and perform inconsistently at best, then we recommend Modern Football for a fresh perspective. Schedule a demo today at teammofo.com to see a battle-tested tool that's proven to perform and deliver value. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year. And listen to our recent episode featuring Folsom High School defensive coordinator Jordan Ersick to learn more about how the 2023 California State Champion uses modern football to dominate their opponents.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Softley, head football coach at Lubbock Christian, the defending state champions here in Texas of the TAPS 3A division.
Chris Kappas, head football coach at Louisville High School, Louisville, Ohio.
Brett Arkellian, special teams analyst and special teams coach at Fresno State.
You're listening to the Coach and Coordinator Podcast.
It's very important to not just show up and, hey, we're just going out and practicing. It's to really, get in front of them, let them know that this is who we are and what we stand for.
The excitement surrounding the beginning of camp has everyone involved, players and coaches alike, ready to run through a wall and get things going. However, beginning camp by setting clear expectations and detailing procedures for all aspects of your program, unit, and position groups will set the stage for success and build the foundation upon which you will operate. Today we gain insight from 3 coaches on how they do exactly that as they kick off camp. We start with Coach Softley, the head coach of the defending TAPS 3A state championship at Lubbock Christian Academy in Lubbock, Texas. I first met Coach Softley at the Texas High School Coaching School last summer. He was named a 40 under 40 coach by Dave Campbell's Texas Football. In this segment, he shares how they outline the expectations and procedures for everything they do and discusses the importance of establishing and training procedures both on and off the field. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes.
And extremely important, right, is making sure that everybody is in alignment. So I think great leaders align and inspire. And so the first step is making sure everybody knows what they're in alignment to. And so that requires a really organized coach. So whether it's offensive scheme or it's the procedure of how we're going to exit the classroom, get into meeting and film room, get onto the practice field and the order of practice, all those things, there just has to be a whole lot of lists and bullet points, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. And so putting the schedule up there for your coaches to see week at a glance, year at a glance, and then doing the same thing with the kids. And so what we do in terms of alignment is every meeting, it's here's what I'm about to tell you. Now it's here's what I told you, and it's here's what you should have written down in your notes. And we're doing that with the coaches. We're doing that with the kids. And then that second part is that inspiration. And so now you got to rally people around the thought that, hey, our procedures, our systems, our processes, they're not only good and safe, but they're actually really wise. They allow us to be fresh. They allow us to be sharp, and they're going to allow us to play our best football when it matters most. And so that is something I'm really passionate about. I think it is what separates good from great, and being able to set those expectations clearly from the beginning is key.
Now, with that, you mentioned the procedures, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that is so important. And as I got going as a coach and realizing, okay, our procedures on the field are important, but we can train kids in a procedural manner, understanding like for everything, guys, there's a procedure is important. For example, we had these really nice hardwood stall lockers that they're open so they can look really good or they could look messy. And I described it to the kids. We want anybody who would come through, we want them to say a champion lives here. Mm-hmm. And we define that for them by setting up one of those lockers perfectly.
That's right.
Showing them where everything goes, taking a picture of it and putting it on every locker. And it was there for the first week.
That's
they
right.
could look at it and it became ingrained in them. So what kinds of things do? You mentioned coming into the classroom, leaving the classroom, like all those kinds of things to make your team, I guess, more procedurally aware.
It's almost an endless list, right? So let's just say first day, we're starting here coming up first day. And the first time we have a team meeting, we'll talk about how the room should look, how you enter the room, how we will start the class, basically the class period, of our team meeting. Everybody's going to have a composition notebook, how we take notes. We'll have the objective on the board. I mean, it's to every detail. And then you're right. You go to the locker room. How do we handle the lockers? And so we have a piece of paper on our cork board of this is the expectation of an elite locker, right? How do we eat, right? Leaders eat last in our culture. How do we load the bus? How do we unload the bus? How do we address authorities, the officials, strangers from other crowds when we're going out to warm-ups? We want to cover everything we can cover. We want to equip them and put them in a position to grow as young men and to represent our brand well. And so it is basically the succinct way to say it would be is we start every meeting with kind of a free teach. So whether it's football IQ or just procedural IQ. And so it's like, hey, for today, we're going to talk about what happens when a block kick doesn't go past the line of scrimmage, right? Whereas tomorrow it may be, hey, we're going to get you ready for the first day of school. We're going to walk through it. Here's what it should look like. Here's where you should sit in your classroom. Here's how you should address teachers. We're just going to talk through all those details. Again, trying to coach young men more even as people than as players. But once they realize we love them as people, then they're going to give us even more as players.
As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. Chris Kappas was the 2022 AFCA Assistant Coach of the Year, the 2015 Football D3 Coordinator of the Year, and a part of numerous national championships at Mount Union as both the offensive and defensive coordinator there. And he takes over as the head coach of Louisville High School in Ohio this season. He shares how they lay out expectations in their first meeting, establishing their culture, which they call Code Blue, that all of the coaches take ownership in presenting.
First thing we're going to do, we're going to have a meeting to start all at camp. So before we get a lift, before we get a practice, clearly setting the guidelines and reiterating all the things that, our culture stands for, from our core values to how we're going to create team unity to what the expectations are in the locker room, what the expectations are at practice, what the expectations are as a student with their academics, how they act in the school, and then, how they act on Friday nights. But just really trying to make sure there's no gray area in that first meeting. And that first meeting, again, is just going to be essentially about rules, regulations, culture before we get to any scheme or anything like that. It's very important to not just show up and, hey, we're just going out and practicing. It's to really, get in front of them, let them know that this is who we are and what we stand for.
What are the key things you're really focusing on? What are the pillars you're setting as this is our culture?
We have what's called Code Blue, which is our core values, our 6 core values, which is commitment, relentlessness, unselfishness, toughness, integrity, and loyalty. And so those guys, it's not just signs on the wall. So we have it posted up in different places. It's on T-shirts, but making sure those guys understand what those are, what they mean, how they relate to football, how they're going to help them in life, why we're doing things that are going to help develop those skills with them. And then I actually assign each one of our assistant coaches one of those pillars, and they make a 5 to 10 minute presentation using a video from YouTube or something of that nature that can dive a little bit deeper into each one of those, so those guys know exactly what they are, how to make sure they're doing those things every single day.
Brett Arkellian is an analyst and special teams coach for Fresno State. He explains how he sets the expectations for both his specialist and his special teams units in camp by getting their input into what they want to excel at this season, and how he creates a focus each day. What he does can apply to any position group or unit.
Success is where preparation opportunity meet is what I would really start out with my specialist telling them. I think managing expectations and rules for the guys before we get going is so important. The first thing I'm going to do is bring the specialists in, sit down with each one of them, which I really just did about a week ago. It's, what are the 3 things that you're going to do well, or that we're going to be known for as a group? And I'll do this with my special teams unit too when I'm running my unit. It's like, what 3 things are we going to be good at? What I want to do is foster ideas from them and know what they want to be known for, and then incorporate our own ideas too. The next thing I'll do after we've established kind of goals and expectations, like what are you going to be, what's your, and when I say this, Keith, a lot of people get hung up on the statistics for kickers and punters. I'm on average 46 yards a punt and 4 or 5 hang time. It's just, 1, not realistic. And 2, if you don't reach those goals, then it feels like the whole season's a failure. So I'm more interested in process over result. So the process, like fundamentally, what are you going to do well this season as a field goal kicker? Well, I'm going to lock my ankle well on contact, and I'm going to have a good rotational ball. That's something we can see and measure. And then what's a mental focus that you're going to get better at? After we talk about that, then I'll give them a list. And I'm, shameless plug for the Kicker's Bible, like we talked about before, but I'll give them a drill list for specialists. And this is something I think you could do with regular position groups too. Hey guys, here's a list of things we've drilled in the past, of ideas I've gotten this summer, and things I think can help you out. What are the drills you'd be willing to do? What are the drills that you think will help you? And then I'm going to keep a database of that. And really what I'm presenting, Keith, to the guys is a menu. I got this from when I was teaching high school. You give them a menu of assignments they can do, and then they choose it. They take ownership of it, and they apply themselves more. It's the same thing with specialists or any other position group. What's things you think will help you? Then we're going to use that during the season. Now, at the end of the day, if I think your contact sucks, we're going to go to the bag, and we're going to do goalpost kicks, and we're going to work on locking the ankle out. I don't care if you hate it. You're going to get better at it. But I'm taking some of their ideas so they feel ownership of what we got going on. The other thing, Keith, I think is really cool and important. A lot of teams nowadays will do, with their strength staff, they'll do high and low rep days. So on a low rep day, for specialists, that might look like, hey, we're doing more dry runs, which means we're not kicking the ball. We'll do more drill work. So maybe we're doing no steps, 1 steps as a focus that day. Or we'll do some situational stuff where we walk through some situations, but we're really not hitting the ball all that much. Now, your next day, especially at camp, when we're hitting so many balls, your next day might be a high day. And you might be doing a lot of live reps with your fellow specialists on the field. For other position groups, that looks like, running more or doing a lot more long-winded drills or talking through, or maybe jogging through some situational stuff too. I think that we've really found success with that with our specialists. I could have 2 of my kickers have a high rep day and 1 have a low rep day in order to save his leg. Maybe that low rep guy might have a kickoff day the next day, and the 2 kickers have field goal days. So creating a plan with them to make sure we're managing the rep count, because they're just like pitchers, right? They have a certain amount of reps that they can take, I think is very appropriate and important for them. And then also what I'll do, Keith, I think this is really cool that I've stumbled on and worked with people in the past, is giving them a focus for each day. And Dan Hawkins and Davis kind of pushed me towards this, and then I've kept working on it and creating different focuses for each day. So camp is essentially the whole month of August, right? It's a long grind, and those days can feel repetitious or doing the same thing every day. So we'll give them a focus. Maybe Monday's focus for individual drills and individual work is their approach to the ball. Let's make sure we're having a consistently same approach, that we're getting mentally locked in, we're giving a mental cue, and then we're aligning our bodies in the right way, the same way every time. Maybe the next day we're working on rotation. So we want on field goals a good high rotation or a slow rotation on our kick, and just hitting a straight ball. Maybe punt that looks like we're trying to turn over every ball. That's our focus. Maybe on Tuesday the focus will be accuracy or directional kicks. So we'll work from the hash. As field goal kickers, we'll work exclusively on the hash. Punters will work on putting the ball outside the numbers with every punt that we do. And then maybe the next day is a high pressure situation. So we're repping a lot of different, just giving them a different focus every day, so they have new things, and they're all fundamental things that should be worked on in camp anyway, really drilling that. I think when it comes to actually coaching a special teams unit, the first 4 to 5 practices, you really got to hammer your fundamentals, whether that's, maybe you do punt all 4 or 5 of those first days, and you're just really working your footwork. I mean, we've done things in the past where we get 5 lines lined up, and we're working on that first step, just making sure that first step is pointed at the inside number, no wasted movement, no false steps with the outside foot. We're stepping first at that inside foot, aiming for the inside number, getting a good punch, snagging, and releasing. And we'll hammer that over the first couple of days, doing the same drill, Keith, so we can really own our fundamentals. Kickoff, return, that might look like, kickoff, return, taking our drops and dropping fast with correct leverage, really working to settle and find our kickoff flare. I mean, fundamentals have to be really stressed in that first week. But I think ultimately the way to find success in that fall camp time is create a dialogue between your specialists or your position players on what they want to drill and what's important to them, what they want to improve on. And you can do that too with your special teams units, is picking leaders in the group and saying, hey, what did you feel like we did well last year? And what do we need to get better at this year? Just encouraging input from them, I think, gives that buy-in and that attention to detail from their part.
Thank you again for listening to the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. Have a great start to your own camp, and be sure to listen to our past episodes with each of these coaches who joined us here today. They're full of takeaways that can help you this season. Tune in every day throughout the season for short tips like this from coaches from every level. Follow all we're doing at coachingcoordinator.com and follow us on Twitter at Coach K. Grabowski.